All right, so factoring trinomials. So this is a little bit of warm-up, and it's a lot like what we did yesterday, so I'm going to kind of skip through a lot of this stuff because there's pretty much just 4 different types of factoring that you need to know here. And our rules for this will work every single time the exact same way. So for number 1, we're just going to dive right in. First off, you set up your 2 sets of parentheses. All right, and then this first sign right here, you're going to drop it down. So that first sign is a plus. You're going to drop it down. Our first sign is going to be a plus. This second sign right here, just like we talked about yesterday, tells you whether these 2 signs are going to be the same or different. So if that second sign is a plus, they're going to be the same. If that second sign is a minus, they're going to be different. So in this case, that second sign is a plus, so that means it has to be the same as the first sign that we dropped. So since the first sign we dropped was a plus, the second one's going to be a plus as well. You write your variable in the front, and then the last thing we're going to look at, you read this a little backwards. You read it as factors of 20 that will add to give you 9. In other words, we have factors of 20 are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. All of those numbers will multiply to give you 20. We're looking for which ones add to give you 9. So that will be 4 and 5. And you always put the bigger number first. Now, that doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily wrong if you don't put the bigger number first in this problem, but in other problems, it will be incorrect if you don't put the bigger number first. Okay, so we're going to keep moving forward to number 3. 2 sets of parentheses. Drop your first sign. The second sign is a plus again, so it tells us that they're the same, so that has to be a plus as well. You write the a, whatever variable it is, and then we have factors of 24 that will add to give us 10. So we're looking at 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. So 4 and 6 are the ones that add to give us 10. 6 will come first because it is bigger. Now, that is our final answer, but if you want to check your answers, you can always FOIL and multiply a back out and multiply 6 back out. That's what they were doing up here, and you'll see that we're just going backwards from FOILing here. We are factoring. FOILing is multiplying, and factoring is dividing. Okay, so our second set here, we still do the exact same rules. 2 sets of parentheses. You drop your first sign, but you notice that this second sign is now a minus. Well, we said that when it's a minus, those signs are going to be different. So since we have a plus here, now we put a minus there. These signs have to be different. And then we have factors of 18 that will subtract to give you 3. So that will be 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 3 and 6. So the 3 and the 6 are the ones that subtract to give you 3, and 6 will come first. And here's why. When we multiply this out, we're going to get a positive 6 in and a negative 3 in. When you add those together and combine those, you will get a positive 3 in. Okay, so this is the correct answer. I'm going to write in red what would have been wrong. So let's see here. If I put the 3 first, even though it's not the biggest number, then that would have given me a positive 3 in and a negative 6 in. But you can see when you combine those and add those out, that'll give you a negative 3 in. We had a positive, right? So that is not correct. What you have to do is put that bigger number first and have, and that will keep everything straight for you. All right, so for number 7, same thing, 2 sets of parentheses. Drop your first sign. Second sign tells you whether they're the same or different. That's a minus sign, so that means these signs have to be different. Now, I will say that for these first 2 sets, it kind of looks like you're just dropping both signs, right? You may be saying, oh, okay, well, there's a plus plus, so I can put plus plus, and there's a plus minus, so I can put plus minus. You're going to see in set 3 and 4 that that's not the case. Okay, so don't think that you can just drop both of them. You really need to be paying attention to what the second sign tells you. It tells you whether they're the same or different. So we read this as factors of 6 that will subtract to give us 1. There's a 1 in front of there. So that's 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Obviously, 2 and 3 are the ones that will subtract to give us 1. 3 comes first because it's bigger. All right, for set 3, two sets of parentheses, you always, always, always drop your first sign. So that's a minus. But this second sign is a minus, and that tells us that these signs have to be different. So if the first sign was a minus, the second sign has to be a plus. Now you see that you can't just drop both signs. It's not going to work like that every single time. All right, and then factors of 3 that will subtract to give you 2. Well, there's only 2 factors of 3, and that's 1 and 3. 3 comes first. Why is that? Because it's bigger. And for number 11, two sets of parentheses. Drop your first sign. Second sign tells you they are different. Factors of 63 that will subtract to give you 2. Hopefully you know that just 9 and 7 multiply to give you 63, and they do subtract to give you 2 as well. You can always go into your calculator and type in y equals. Actually, I can show you on the calculator here. So we had 63, right? I do not want to try that. We had 63. If I go to y equals and I type in 63 divided by x, and then I go to my table, you'll see all of these numbers that multiply to give you 63. So you see 1 and 63, you see 3 and 21, you see 7 and 9, right? All of these different numbers, not counting the decimal points, all the whole numbers that multiply to give you 63. So if we're looking for ones that will subtract to give me 2, 1 and 63 definitely don't. 3 and 21 definitely don't. 7 and 9 do, right? So that would be a kind of quick, easy way to find those if you can't see them in your head. Lastly, set 4, two sets of parentheses, drop your first sign. Second sign tells you they are the same. So now we have to have 2 minus signs because they're going to be the same. Factors of 24 that will add to give us 11 are 8 and 3. For number 15, drop your first sign. Second sign tells you they'll be the same. Put your y's down. Factors of 72 that will add to give us 17. So factors of 72, we can go back to our table in a calculator. And we'll just do 72 divided by x. And you can look at that table and you'll see 1 and 72, 236, 314. We're looking for ones that will add to give us 17. So that's obviously got to be 8 and 9. All the other ones will add to give you something else. So 8 and 9, 9 comes first because it is bigger. Now again, you see that they're both minus signs, so technically it wouldn't really matter if I put y minus 8 here and y minus 9, since they're the same, and when you multiply it out, you're going to combine them. However, anytime the signs are different, like in set 3 and in set 2, it does make a difference which one you put first. So I say, why not just put the bigger number first every single time, so you don't have to worry about when you have to and when you don't have to. Bigger number first every time. All right, so a little bit of mixed practice here. Still applying the same rules. Drop your first sign. Second sign tells you they are different. Factors of 16 that will subtract to give you 6 are 8 and 2. Two sets of parentheses. Drop your first sign. Second sign tells you they are the same. Factors of 40 that will add to give you 13 are 8 and 5. And for 21, drop your first sign. Second sign tells you they are different, so this one's got to be a plus since the first one was a minus. Factors of 30 that will subtract to give you 1 are 6 and 5. 6 comes first. Why? Because it's the bigger number. All right. There is one that I want to show you that I'll just mark off 22 and make it this one. Say it's n squared plus 5x. Plus 6. And then I'll also show you n squared minus 5x, or no, plus 5x minus 6. All right, so if you see, the only change is that that second sign right there. So I'll do the first one. We drop our first sign. Second sign tells us they are different. And then factors of 6 that will subtract to give me 5 are 6 and 1. However, down here when we set it up, drop our first sign. Second sign tells us they're the same. Here it's factors of 6 that add to give you 5. So that would be 3 and 2. So it's all about that second sign and what it tells you. Do you need to add those factors or do you need to subtract those factors? Be very careful with that. And lastly, we may have a GCF where we just need to do one extra step where we take out a 4. And then this on the inside is a trinomial that we can factor. Okay, so it's just adding one extra step to what we did before. We leave the 4 on the outside, 2 sets of parentheses, drop your first sign, second sign tells you they're the same. Factors of 2 that add to give you 3, 2 and 1. All right, for number 25, we can divide each of these by 3. And that will leave me with y squared minus 5y plus 4. Leave the 3 there, set the 2 sets of parentheses, drop your first sign, second sign tells you they're the same, and factors of 4 that add to give you 5 are 4 and 1. I'll do number 28 down here because it has a variable as well. 26 does as well, but the things we can take out here are a 5 and a y. We can't take out an x because not all terms have an x. That last one doesn't have an x. So 5y, that'll leave us with x squared minus 3x, and that should be 28, I believe. Yeah, 28. All right, and then we set up our 2 sets of parentheses, drop your first sign, second sign tells you they are different, and factors of 28 that will subtract to give you